Greek, how are you, my friend?
What is happening?
We're doing great. I mean, we were talking about this a little bit. I don't know how we got on spring break stories. Because I guess because of the chaos there on South Beach. You're not much that, takes a look at the price point before you get involved in something. But would you pay 4 sticks for like a spaghetti dinner on South Beach? $400 for 2 people? No drinks.
No way. Maybe a hot bait, but not a pasta. I could get it for $6. I can make it for $3. Get it, Joseph.
Yeah. You could have gone to Flanagan's. I had the lunch special, and had the hottest liquor on South Beach.
Yeah, I mean, for $400, they better throw in 2 brunettes and wash my car and fill it up. Are you kidding me?
Remind me to bring that up at Mayo later.
The other night I was at a place and the price came out, and I was like to the girl, I said, COVID's over. She goes, what the hell does that mean? I go, well, take off your mask. You're robbing me.
Hey, fucking Zorro, why don't you get up and, I'll pay for the drink.
I'm like, oh my God, you guys looking for partners? Oh, God.
The time. Wake up with Defo, joined by Lubie. Welcome to the Defo Show.
And a very pleasant good morning, everybody. Hopefully, I'll be able to push my way through this thing. I think I can. We just did something else that lasted about 15 minutes, and that may be all I have. But nonetheless, couldn't shine on the show, couldn't call in sick. There is no such thing in this business because, and we also have a big agenda today. In addition to having the old school segment with Tony Segreto in the second hour of the program, Brian White, the athletic director at FAU, is going to join us here on the show. We don't have the same kind of pull at FAU that we do at the University of Miami. Is that a fair statement, Louie?
Well, for basketball.
For basketball.
We've never had Cristobal on at all. And we had Golden on, I think once. We had, did we have Rick? I don't even know if we got Rick. And Rick knew who you were, and I don't know if we got Rick. The football guys have been, and they've changed out, have been nice, but they don't ever seem to get the job done. The basketball people, and that's the thing.
Well, we had Lane Kiffin. He's sort of an indifferent type, but he was a fan of the show, it turned out. We found out through Paul Castronova.
Since Larry Nake's been there, which is the entire time of our show, they've changed out basketball PR people, but they've all been great. So I think it's more Larinaga. Their football coaches, we've never gotten them on.
And I know Cristobal casually anyway from my days of covering the Canes when he was a player there. So, yeah, I mean, it's surprising. But he, I don't know, why was he laying low because they were losing? I mean, he seems to be extremely approachable and amenable to doing, interviews and talking to virtually anybody. And yet it was shine on Harvest Moon, was it not? Every time you called down and they were like, listen, Lubie, we're doing what we can, huh?
Yeah, honestly.
Leave me alone already, Lubie.
Whereas FAU, we get the football coaches on whenever I really want them. And we've gotten the basketball coaches. It's just they're inundated because they're not.
This couldn't be anything that any sports information department could anticipate, is it? And also I guess it became prohibitive too because and I'm glad that Brian White's coming on because actually it's another interesting aspect of the story because if these coaches believe that they're going to take a job somewhere, whether and the type of coach you get is either the up and comer like Dusty May. Who needs to get his first shot somewhere, or you get the guy who was the FSU coach that coached the football team there briefly that just bombed down.
Willie Taggart.
Willie Taggart, yeah, who often came on our show.
Yeah, we had him on.
Yeah, so but that's the kind of place it is. I mean, so Brian White. I mean, it's not like he's getting, Rick Pitino to come there on his comeback after Iona, maybe before Iona.
Yeah,
that would have been a viable possibility, but and he also has to know that if he strikes gold with a guy like Dusty May, what's the possibility that the guy's going to stick around for more than a couple of years?
That's the thing, because look, even big time programs will hire. Look, I don't know who Mike White was when the Gators hired. Like even big time programs will hire younger guys.
Yes,
the difference is you have a shot at keeping them. Like if you're in FAU and the guy has success. Like, look, Iona didn't have success. Not Iona. FDU won 1 game. They were bad all year. They shouldn't have made the tournament. And then they lost the next game to a Conference USA opponent in FAU. And the guy still got a job.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a thing. And he did literally look. Shaka Smart stayed just because he wanted to stay at VCU. Shaka Smart, the minute they went to the Final Four, could have gone wherever he wanted. Like,
Oh, this guy's got to be able to write a ticket. I mean, it's surprising the NBA isn't knocking on his door at this point.
honestly.
Don't the Pistons need to take a look at their coaching situation? Or anybody else, for that matter, that's sitting there just sucking wind in the NBA right now. The Rockets couldn't use a Dusty May. Maybe, this guy may be a guy that goes, and as a lifetime college coach. That's possible. He seems to have that kind of,
Yeah.
look to him and everything he says. And he was great when he came on a couple of times here on the show.
Yeah, we've had him on video.
Very impressive. So, but anyway, yeah, I mean, they only have a couple of days really to make this all work out. And once, the team is traveling, I guess you said today to Houston.
Today. Yeah. Because remember,
Once they get there, I mean, really, what is the chance the guy's going to want to do a phone call with a local streaming show?
Well, he might not. It's not about that. He might not want to do anything. Like once you're in Final Four mode, I mean, I presume.
But the media essentially that's interested in this is out there, except for maybe Dave Hyde. I thought I saw Hyde in the Florida Straits. They had a helicopter shot. Some migrants were being rescued. And there was Dave Hyde with a flag and a copy of the Sun Sentinel saying, I'm trying to get to Houston, man. Can I get there this way? I heard it was, just off the Gulf.
Oh, my God.
It's hoping to catch a westerly wind.
We should track. I should reach back out to Dave and see if
he's parasailing there. I don't know how the hell he's getting there. That is weird. I mean, that you can have two. I mean, this is the most unusual circumstance, I think, by far that I've ever seen here in South Florida. 42 years of being here, following virtually everything, seeing every bizarre, thing that could possibly happen. We've been to all the weirdo press conferences, where the inexplicable was trying to be explained away as if it was fact. Right? I mean, Stan Van Gundy.
There's Stan Van Gundy.
Does he love the game of basketball, Lubie? Did he not covet being the Miami Heat head coach?
Yeah, of course. And they had
Stan
a squad.
Van Gundy.
And it wasn't like one of these shitty situations like you're Todd Bowles and you get thrust into the fucking Jets job.
Yeah.
Like, this was Shaq and Wade.
A dream job. After years toiling as an assistant. And we were trying to be led to believe. I mean, they actually were trying to. I mean, this is David Koresh type of stuff. Trying to convince us that it's a good thing that I'm sleeping with your wife.
Well,
trying to convince us that Stan Van Gundy had a nervous breakdown, which he seems to be the epitome of cool.
Yeah, I mean,
and he was one of my early discoveries as a guy that, my theory is I don't care if you're a big name. I mean, it'd be great if we could get Pat Riley on the show every day. But, if you have interesting things to say and you're involved and you know what you're talking about, and then on top of that, you can embellish it with stories from behind the scenes.
Yep.
Stan Van Gundy was a great guest for me. I was doing a 4-hour show called the Sunday Morning Magazine or something.
Yeah, like a rap.
WIOD, yeah. 6 to 10 in the morning on Sunday mornings, Lubie. A lot of people tuning into AM radio at 6 o'clock before they go to church.
Especially on a Sunday, definitely.
Outside of newspaper delivery people, which existed at the time.
Or the fishermen, like
fishermen.
The fishing show works. The fishing show actually on a Saturday morning is actually almost prime time.
Because guys are going fishing, yeah.
Because that's when people go fishing.
Hey, where to fish,
Saturday
man?
Morning.
I just heard Bouncer Smith say to go 70 miles offshore.
A Miami Heat recap show. I don't know. I don't know if they're tuning in at 6 in the morning on a Sunday.
6 in the morning, yeah.
Even in primetime sports talk era, like.
Anyway, somehow, I was kind of reaching. This was also at a time where. Are we not familiar with? I mean, I know Chris Quinn is an assistant coach with the Heat, the guy that used to play, because most guys that played basketball would look at Chris Quinn and say, "How the fuck is he an NBA player?" Just by looks. I mean, he was an okay player, and I mean, you weren't expecting him, to be Clyde Frazier or anything, but he was all right. Maybe the poor man's John Crotty. Would you say is that a fair statement? Chris Quinn.
John Crotty actually was a legit NBA player.
He was more accomplished, Crotty.
He was a legit NBA player. Yeah. Lingered a little bit in the league. Like I think he played a few years in the league. He just never, made a huff.
Yeah. I mean, he was with the Heat there, and you would look at him. I mean, if you had played any ball, I don't care at what level. I mean, it could have been just in the park there with your friends, and you would look at Chris Quinn and go, "That's an NBA player." What are you kidding me? Look at this guy. He's like the first guy that he would say, I got that guy. I got Quinn. Not to pick, but to guard.
I got it.
You're thinking you would have a nice, easy night, right? I'll score 60 to 11 points. We'll hold the court for 3 hours. I'll get a good schwitz going, have a couple of beers, and then hope the wife is still awake. That's the way that went. Anyway, Stan used to come on his own to the show and sit there with me for an hour and talk about all kinds of stuff. He was also a dynamite baseball fan, as evidenced. He was very close with who was the Marlins manager?
Oh, Freddie Gonzalez.
Freddie Gonzalez. Yeah, I knew it was Gonzalez. I couldn't think of which.
The guy that went to the Braves and had a lot of
right. Had a lot of success there after the Marlins fired him, which is not atypical of South Florida teams.
Of course.
Who gets it right when it comes to coaching in South Florida? The Miami Heat, obviously, in a home run with Spoelstra.
Yeah, I guess the Heat.
And they've had good coaches. I mean, look, can you argue with the guys they've had? Ron Rothstein, very experienced, impossible situation, but you can tell at 80, whatever he is now, he's still got a very sharp basketball mind.
Yeah, he's great.
Right? So, that was a good hire at the time, just a lousy team.
Yep.
Because what do you get? I mean, you got the 9th pick in the draft as an expansion franchise.
Yeah, what the fuck is that?
And a bunch of scrubs, the likes of which where Tim Kempton was a viable player.
Jesus.
Sylvester Gray made the opening day roster. This guy, was a rugby player. But Stan absolutely loved that job. And, we've been sold a bill of goods so many times. Or, and the attempts are very poor here to convince you of something that's impossible to believe. Like that Stan Van Gundy is more, inclined to want to take his 14-year-old daughter to Disney World.
Yeah, there you go.
Then keep like what would eventually be like a $10 million a year job.
Yeah, he got it. Well, and he took a job 2 years later.
Yeah.
he wanted
because he felt bad he wasn't spending enough time with his family. Get that. I mean, please.
No. Well, I was going to ask you because you were in LA when it happened. How did they handle we're getting rid of Westhead?
Very awkwardly.
That's what I'm saying. Like they
I
were.
mean, you had a guy that literally hit his head on a rock or whatever when he was riding his bicycle, and then you've got to get rid of this guy because Pat Riley is the man.
That's what I'm saying because
I don't remember it being all that. I mean, it was awkward, but it was a popular move also.
Okay.
Because the people were behind Riley. I remember I did a feature story on Chick Hearn. It was one of these things. I think I told you this story also, which I'm running out of stories at 72.
12 years.
No, but I was fascinated, of course, by all announcers, and Chick Hearn was one of my favorites. And it was a different style. Like if you were a New York guy, these LA announcers were completely. They were a big departure from what you got in New York. New York, you had Mel Allen and Marv Albert.
Old school, right? They were old school.
Well, I mean, they were all great in their own way, but it was sort of more of a there was like a lighter feeling or something to the announcers in LA. And Chick Hearn had his shtick, which was great. I mean, you just loved it. It was kind of like Neil Rogers doing basketball, where certain things that he said, you couldn't wait for him to say it. Yeah, right. Like he's yo-yoing up and down, or look at that. It looked like he came out of the popcorn machine, all greased up with butter. But he couldn't have been a nicer man. I mean, this is one thing that I always loved about, and we were talking to Bonnie Bernstein on the show yesterday about like women that have made it. But it seems that there's a common thread with many of the greatest announcers that, they were just top-notch gentlemen also, like Scully. And Chick Hearn was very much the same. Different type of guy, in terms of his excitability and stuff like that during the course of a game. Obviously, it's a different call. You're doing basketball versus, baseball. But could not have been a nicer guy. I mean, just a mensch of a human being. So here's little me. I go up there, and Pat Riley was the color announcer at that time on the radio in his first year of doing that. And that was like, Pat Riley's going to be the color announcer. Who the hell is Pat Riley, And you remember, he was on those Kentucky teams. And then
the next
I remember he had like a really kind of,
the Lakers.
I wish I could find one of these. I don't know what it would be worth, but there was like a Pat Riley basketball card that one of my friends had.
Oh, my God.
And it was him with like the San Diego Rockets, if you will. Yeah, and he was not a successful NBA player, Pat Riley.
Okay.
I want to say like this was a guy. Maybe I'm wrong, but my recollection is on the back of the card it said he was averaging like 6 points a game or something.
Yeah, I don't know. You don't really like Phil Jackson's career. At least gets brought up. I don't.
Jackson was a very integral part of those Knick
That's what I
teams.
thought. I thought
Yeah.
Riley was like that, but I guess not. I don't really know.
Yeah, Jackson would come in and do his thing. It was kind of, I mean, to a lesser extent, Mike Reardon, the great Mike Reardon, who, shined once he got dealt to the Bullets for the Pearl. But Mike Reardon, when he was with the Knicks, he only came in to give the foul that they had to give. Holtzman would bring him off the bench. He'd run into the game. He'd foul a guy, hack him badly, and then right off the floor. That was it.
Hatchet man. That's what he used to be. Literally, the guy's job was.
He was the human foul to give. And then, I mean, you would see him play once in a while. Go, hey, maybe this cat's got a little bit of game.
Yeah, exactly.
And sure enough, he did. He turned out to be a very, very good player for the Bullets after he got traded to Washington. And of course, the Knicks definitely prospered by getting the great Earl of Pearl Monroe, who toned down his game, as we've talked about many, many times. But I mean, just total bullshit that Stan Van Gundy didn't want to be the head coach of the Miami Heat. Crazy.
Yes. I mean
that and the other far fetched one, the greatest. Yeah, it was that Dan Shula wanted to quit
for Jimmy Johnson. Yeah. The Shula for Jimmy Johnson,
so they could bring in the Jimmer.
And he hated Jimmy Johnson.
Hated the guy.
It was well known that he was like, "Fuck that guy."
He would have rather seen Nick Saban become the coach of the Miami Dolphins, which eventually, was an occurrence also.
I don't know if I wasn't young, but I was around college years, and I didn't do a lot of sports talk at that time. So you were more engaged. Like, wasn't Jimmy Johnson sniffing around the Dolphins like ever since?
The fans all wanted it. This was one of those times where the ownership didn't know what to do. No, I'm not saying. Look, I love Don Shula. May he rest in peace. The guy was just a mensch to me. Always, I mean, came on our show there.
He was older. We had him on a few times.
Yeah, I mean. And anytime I talked to him, he was always very gracious with me.
He was.
And, and he was still Shula, like he was with everybody else. I don't know that he treated me any differently than anybody else. But there were people that he really didn't care for. He would still accommodate him. But, I mean, you could tell that he just didn't really want to be talking to you. Shula had a way of being like that. And you know me, I'm not a jock sniffer. I mean, I'm glad I got to know all these people because it was just a tremendous part of being alive was to get meet people that you saw from a distance, and then you actually get to know them. But to think for a second that Shula wanted to leave was absolutely 100 degree 80 degrees in the wrong direction. But there was a great public sentiment to get Jimmy Johnson to be the coach of the team.
I remember. I just wasn't.
Yeah.
I felt like Jimmy also had a lot to do with that. Like he moved down to the.
He didn't make it. You know how Jimmy is. I mean, he knows how to work the crowd.
That's what I thought. Yeah. I remember that because I remember, like people instantly went to Jimmy, and I was younger, and I remember my dad was one of those that was like, it's past. Shula's past his prime, and the game's passed him by. And
that was Chuck Noll and Shula. The game's passed him by.
Yeah.
Bud Grant, I mean, all of those old school, it was like old school, old fool. That's what people were thinking.
Yes.
And, Shula resented that. I mean, more than anything else, I think. More than he resented Joe Namath and the quick release whenever he had to mention that. Hey, Dan, how the hell did you lose game 3, Super Bowl 3? I could see, Mayo, he wouldn't even do that, would he? He's the type that would, when he was a sports writer.
I say Mayo would.
He wasn't afraid to, throw the tough question out there. And all of the media guys, the electronic media guys would go, "You're not supposed to do that." I was about to get a one-on-one, Mayo.
Exactly.
That guy wasn't Mayo, though. It was Al Lombardo. That was the guy.
He was worse, from what I've heard.
Oh, it was comical. It really was. I mean, we had Harvey and Chip Namius, and they would cringe at the sight of Lombardo. And he really was he was the Helen. What's her last name now? The woman that always had the first question at the press conference, presidential press conference.
Helen Thomas.
Thomas, yeah. All right, and that was Lombardo. And he would ask Shula after a loss, I mean, they'd beaten like the Patriots in a hard-fought game by a point. And he would say, "Could you really be satisfied, Coach, with a win, no cover?"
And
And like Shula would be like,
like who does that?
"Who the fuck is this?"
And he was a schmank. He wasn't like some guy with
Nothing. He
New
was
York
like 1470 or something. Yeah,
even then. Like
he was on WMEN or whatever. I don't know, some station. Well, we're going to talk to the men out there with some real man talk. Those stations invariably failed, did they not?
oh yeah. I just love that. Like sure, people were actual heralded journalists were scared of him because the jaw was he would literally from what I was
He
told,
was iconic.
well, he was iconic and he was also a tough son of a gun. Like he wasn't
Think about
like
the coaches that were around. It was Lombardi. It was Shula. It was a guy like Bud Grant, Tom Landry, George Allen.
Yeah.
These were men that
he
you
was-
didn't you didn't challenge with. Hey, could you really be satisfied with a win no cover?
that's-
Anyway, I mean, they tried. I remember I was doing a live broadcast from that Shula press conference when Shula was announcing that he was going to step down
oh
of
yeah.
his own volition. Wayne was there. I mean, and they trotted it out. I mean, they had the Clydesdales. I mean, they liquored up the. I mean, they made sure there was an open bar for the press, so they tried to buy this crap.
Yeah, I remember being excited because again, Jimmy Johnson had just come off the Cowboys, and the only reason he left was because Jerry Jones was a scumbag. So it was like, okay, he is in his prime.
Very popular, decision by the Dolphins. at the
Shula had
time.
wanted to be highly involved in personnel, and it had failed. I mean, they were not able to get a running game going. Their defenses were abysmal, and
It was Bobby Bowden.
it
right?
felt time, but it also felt icky at the same time. But Jimmy
It
Johnson,
was an underhanded way of doing it, but this is the business we have chosen. I
yeah,
would say.
yeah.
It's kind of like being told that we're going in another direction when you're working at a radio station.
We were told.
Yeah, I mean, the popular opinion was that Wayne needed to make a change there. I mean, to his credit, I guess, if you were looking for an owner, or whether you despised him or not, Wayne Huizinga, who I think kind of won over the public's favor as an owner
He
of
tried.
teams there.
Yeah, he tried.
Yeah, I
Like,
mean,
that's-
and a lot of that vitriol was also stimulated on the radio because, that was the Neil Rogers show every day was an attack on Wayne Huizinga.
Well, the Marlins stuff sucked. Like the Marlins stuff was really annoying because that team was fucking loaded, and they felt like they could make a nice run. And like what the Yankees ended up doing in the late '90s, it felt like the Marlins could have done that. And it felt like he took it because I was young, but I remember it felt like he took the rug out from underneath us. So it was like, dude, just get
Well,
the-
supposedly it wasn't just the business side, though. Sorry to cut you off there.
Yeah,
but,
you're fine. That's all I had to say.
yeah. Linked to that story, and I've heard this over the years, and I don't know if I buy it or not. What was that? The real turning point? A couple of things. I told you, that time I was in the elevator going to the press box, and Wayne Stein, is getting on just as the door is closing. I had to hold the thing, and it's Wayne and his wife. Only other people in the elevator, but it was like an elevator. You couldn't take the stairs, so you had to take this elevator up to the press box there at Hard Rock Stadium. And so I'm in the elevator with Wayne during the San Francisco playoff series.
Yeah, which was an epic series.
Right. And I didn't know what to say. It was one of those things where you think, I have to say something. Right. I can't just like stand here like I don't recognize that's Wayne Huizinga. And, he knew me a little bit. From being around, interviews and press conferences, and I talked to him on the radio and, on TV, a couple of times. And so I said, "Hey, what a great night, huh?" That was brilliant on my part, right? Hey, what a great night! What could you say to that except, "Yeah, it's great."
Yeah, what are you going to say?
And he walks off, and with Marty Huizinga, and I go to my seat in the press box and hope the hot dogs aren't cold. All right, so he actually, turns around and says, "Great night. You see all the empty seats out there? I don't know what I have to do to sell baseball here in this town." And, so you knew he was upset about that. The fact that, even with a team about to go and win an impossible World Series, that, he still wasn't drawing full houses there at this hybrid stadium that wasn't really equipped for baseball, if you wanted to get, be honest about it. It was, was it even adequate? I guess it had to be. Because they did have ball games there, but it wasn't a good baseball stadium. No question.
It sucked as a baseball stadium.
Yeah. Joe Robbie loves soccer.
And there
You
you
can
go.
get into this with Tony, a little old school, but Joe Robbie wanted to see soccer flourish here in South Florida
Good
because
luck.
he had the strikers, and he was a big soccer fan. Joe Robbie, imagine that. Maybe that's what made him so bitter.
I don't know.
Soccer.
I know that. So there was that, and but Wayne actually tried. That's the funny thing is Wayne tried really hard, especially with the Dolphins, the Panthers. It never seemed to work out. But yeah, like as shocking as the Jimmy Johnson thing was, and as shocking as Stan Van Gundy was, I like when you brought it up the other day, the biggest things. I don't know if this is the biggest things. We've had enough championships here that I don't know where this fits there.
Yeah.
The shocking is the word. What's going on this Saturday in Houston, Texas, from
Impossible to conceive.
Is
Correct?
shocking. It's just shocking. Yeah. It's like which would have had a chance, was still like, I don't know if they're gonna make a Final Four. FAU, them winning a game was a big fucking deal.
Yeah. Them being in the tournament was a big deal.
Them being
literally with like 30 wins, and they're in the tournament, and you're thinking, oh wow, they made the tournament.
You understand their arena? It's crazy. Like, because to me, the arena it's stupid. Like,
I mean, if they lose their conference tournament, do they not go?
Yeah.
With 30 wins?
No, they were going to go. They had done it well enough that they would have been. Well, I don't know. That's true. I guess because they were still in.
They were ranked. I mean, they were ranked in the country. So
it's just weird. They were a 9 seed. So where would they have been? If they were like
playing game. I don't know.
I don't know.
Teams always think that. I mean, that was the complaint of like Greg Pitino. Hey, we're a one bid conference, and so you could be great during the regular season, lose a one game in a tournament, which can happen to anybody, and then you're out.
Yep.
Bottom line, just to finish that down with Huizinga, was that supposedly, and I don't know how true this is, supposedly when none of his star players would play in like his charity golf tournament after the season was over.
Yeah.
And that was it. Like, that was the final straw. He said, that's it. I'm out. I'm getting out of this business.
Yeah, it was freaking annoying.
And he did. I mean, the fact that he sold it to John Henry, who then, I mean, how stupid of a blunder did it look like that John Henry bought the team? And then he prospers and becomes one of the biggest owners in sports.
I mean, that was annoying. Well, because he did there in Boston what we wanted him to do here. He unloaded crap loads of money into the fucking Red Sox, and they finally shook off their decades-long drought.
And look at the price of pork bellies. They skyrocketed after that. Just so he could pay a shortstop. Unbelievable. You're feeling the pain at the dinner table, Lubie. That's what's wrong with sports. Somebody could probably make that case, right? Some Republican. That would be the way to go. All right, what are we missing here, Lubie? What are we missing? We're going to talk to Brian White, AD at FAU. Tony's going to join us later on in the 8 o'clock hour. Old school with Tony Segreto.
Yes.
What have we not discussed for 1 second here on the program a half hour in?
Oh, last night's depression. I mean, I
see. Even you couldn't get to it with the first piece of agenda.
Yeah, there's not much to say. It was another lackluster effort. So,
and there you go, embellishing with a sub-headline before we even get to opening day for the Marlins.
Oh, you're talking about opening day. Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
Tomorrow is opening day of the baseball season. I'm absolutely out of our mind with anticipation. No?
I forgot about that again.
I don't mean to be cynical. I really don't. I mean, look, I would love it if baseball was a popular sport in town. It's one more sport that we could talk about on a regular basis without having to sound like we hate everything. Which personally is one of my beefs. That, if you hate everything about sports, then why the heck are you talking about it?
Exactly.
If you hate your team, then get another team.
Yeah, honestly, you're not tied to them.
But it's the Bobby Caldwell song. I got to think for you, and I can't let it go.
It's true.
Right? And that's how Met fans have been throughout their history. I got to think for you, and I can't let it go. Now, they were over the moon excited for this World Baseball Classic, to shut down Edwin Diaz for the season. And I don't know. That has to be significant. No, Lubie, come on. This guy would come in and strike out the sides almost as a matter of routine.
Well, the Marlins literally, how many 1-run, 2-run ball games have the Marlins had over the last?
They had the biggest number of 1-run losses, I think, in baseball history last year.
If they could have had an actual closure, they would have been in the goddamn playoffs.
There was a general statement I made that has no foundation. They had like 40 1-run losses or something.
No, they were among the league leaders or losers, whatever you want to call it, in close games. So if
they had to lead the league in 1-run losses.
They dressed the crap out of the bullpen in the offseason. Like they went and got a bunch of guys. I don't know their names. Because it's the Marlins, but I know they went and signed this reliever.
Suter? I mean, who did we get? I mean, they're signing dead men.
Suter.
Colby's going to be coming in the 9th inning for this team. Guy's going to go submarine. I tell you what, that's tough on those right-handers.
Going Brian Harvey.
Brian Harvey, remember? I mean, he had like a shredded wheat elbow. He managed to save 45 games. Think about this. That may have been, I could put that up there with the greatest sports accomplishments in a single season by any player. Did Brian Harvey not have 45 saves?
Yeah, no, he was great.
Won like 60 games.
Yeah, he was great. He was really good. Like the Marlins have had him, Rob Nen, and then it's been nothing in the bullpen.
They had Trevor Hoffman.
No, they hadn't before. He never did anything. So, like, that's the thing. If anyone can understand what the Mets are going to be missing, it's the friggin' Marlin. It's a Marlin fan. Like, yeah, Edwin Diaz going down sucks. That's a big deal for them.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, they just invested $100 million in this guy. Could Ben Simmons go down, too, as the biggest waste of money in the history of NBA basketball? They're ending up, this guy is going to make $78 million the next 2 years. You think the Nets want him on the roster? They had to take a shot, right? Because they were sort of, we got into this with the Packers yesterday, didn't we? Where what are the Packers thinking they're going to get for this guy? And James Harden wanted out. And so, the Nets take on what appears to be some very tainted baggage, right?
Oh, yeah.
This is meat that comes right through the door there with fruit flies, like a flock of vultures hovering over the beef. It's good that I would attempt to do a bird noise.
Man, you tried.
Struggling.
You tried.
Shows you how insane you have to be to do this, every morning for like your half your life.
You've done it for 40-something years, yeah.
Kind of crazy, yeah. And enjoying every minute of it. I mean, literally, because all of this stuff, if you think back, it was hysterical. We were taking it seriously at the time.
Oh, no, you guys, you're with Joe Rose and Steve Goldstein. I mean, that stuff must have been.
Oh, Joe, man.
It's the worst. You love making fun of all of it. So, like, and Mandich is in the background. Like,
what are you talking about, Defo? That's a disgrace.
Like, you started making fun of the whole situation. I'm sure they were like, what the fuck are you talking about?
They eventually, all came around and saw the light, which was great. Because it's comical, right? You're standing there at a press conference or sitting down, and Winderman's there and all of these basketball authorities, and somebody's trying to tell you that Stan Van Gundy wants to quit the job so he could go and ride Space Mountain with his daughter at Disney World. And and by the way, Pat Riley just happens to be the favorite call of Shaq to replace him as head coach.
Well, and that's the thing is you loved Riley even then, I'm sure.
I loved Riley, yeah.
You also aren't going to not talk about the thing. Like, you're not going to, like, just exalt. Like, you have to talk about that. Like, I was in college, and I remember going, yeah, that's not a thing.
Huh? Yeah. Yeah, there was no way, right? I mean, the guy couldn't wait to get back into the game like a year later. I mean, I guess he'd seen enough at Disney World, which, for me.
He was in Orlando.
By the time I get to the first ride, I'm finished with the place.
No,
you like it, don't you?
No, it was miserable. No. What do you mean? It was literally, you could not have a better way to see Disney. We had wristbands that got us to the front of every line.
I was with you on that. I had the same situation.
They gave us money. So money wasn't an issue. And
we didn't have to pay for food. Yeah, it was great.
It was Disney, so you can always find a way to spend money. And we couldn't spend all of it because we didn't have enough time to be there. We were able to go to every park. Like we had the dream situation for Disney, and we were miserable.
Never mind, and this is in poor taste, but never mind that you're behind like Jerry's kids. I'm sorry.
It's so true.
online to get on the ride there.
I know.
It's like it's 1,000 degrees, and you're like, but I got a wristband, and the people that are wearing like cubby ears or whatever, Mickey Mouse ears are saying, you know what, go fuck yourself with your wristband.
Yes, exactly. You don't even feel bad. You're so hot and pissed. There's like 12 people.
Schwitz. I mean, like you've never like you're Moses Malone.
Like, I just remember Shirley and I being so angry the whole time. Like, who are these fucking kids? Why are they?
And it's
everywhere?
miles to the next ride or exhibit or whatever. Miles, and then you have to stand online again.
No, there's no way you give
You're
up
paying hundreds for this, thousands.
your dream job so that you can take your kids to soccer practice. Like, come on.
Or yeah, you could be the head coach of an NBA team that's going to win a championship, sometime soon, and you will permanently write your ticket. I mean, which he, pretty much has anyway, right? He's got a great job there with
Yeah,
TNT,
he's done well.
and he does a tremendous job analyzing because that guy was the proverbial basketball junkie.
He would have been fine.
That was the other thing. He's a basketball junkie, Lubie. He's injecting basketball into his veins.
Yes, he literally does it. He does college basketball now, NBA. He coached the fucking Pistons. He was a president of basketball ops. Like after that, like he only did more basketball, not less.
They're trying to lead you to believe that he won it out.
Oh, please.
Yeah, that was ugly.
Yeah.
But that's among the many preposterous things. I think even more stunning though, and we'll get into this with Brian White, who's going to join us here in a few minutes on the program, the AD at FAU, and. I mean, this is more astonishing than some of the bullshit they tried to sell us over the years.
100%.
Almost anything I've covered here, then I said, man, get out of here. FAU and Miami are in the Final Four.
I just think it's hysterical.
I think we put this by Brian White and see what he thinks about our theory that it probably is the most astonishing thing. An unbelievable thing that we've ever had to try and digest here in town. And yet, I mean, okay, so that would be one thing that might eclipse this Marlins opening day. But have you heard anything about it? Do you see a Marlins cap out there on some little kid going into Publix?
No, I thought it was next week. Like I'm not trying to be a jerk. I really thought it was next week.
Are they selling Cracker Jack at the front counter, so you can get into Marlins season with a little Marlins logo? They can't find who's the business guy for the Marlins. They can't find some kind of partnership.
I don't know.
So, you got like hot dogs on sale or something? Nothing. Right?
Yeah, they don't even have a spot. They don't have a stadium spot. They don't have anything. I don't know any. They're not anywhere.
Is Lone Depot still in business?
Oh, it might be Lone. Yeah.
No. Are they involved with like Bankman Fried? Or, I mean, no. What's? Do they also own several luxurious properties in the Bahamas? You have to love South Florida sports. You really do. You just have to love it. But this is the single most amazing thing I think ever, except for Hialeah Park and its longevity. Its position here in town. Tony loves Hialeah Park. Tony and I have similar tastes in some things, even though we seem to disagree on a lot.
You're just different in your viewpoints.
Our approach is different, yeah.
Yes.
Tony would find it blasphemous that we were talking about, Shula in the late stages there.
It's what it is.
but I think I was also on board, to be honest with you. I love Shula. I mean, a great guy. And as I said, terrific to me. But I probably was among those people that were saying, hey, it's time. And if Jimmy is the possible, replacement, then what could be better? I don't know. I think most people thought that at the time. Not Tony.
No, yeah, well, no, for Jimmy, 100%. Look, what people have said since, and Segreto will say this is, people only knew how bad it would get. Because, yes, whatever Shula was, he was better than the line of coaches from Wanstead on. But, at the time, they had gotten really mediocre. And Jimmy Johnson looked like he was going to be the fucking savior. If Jimmy had some sea legs and was willing to stick it out, he would have been. He had put a nice foundation there. He just wanted to go to the fucking Keys. And
you know where I saw Jimmy where he was really happy? Hialeah Park, actually.
Yeah, honestly, I wouldn't doubt it.
This was circa early 90s because I was still in the dating stage with one of my exes. And, at the time it was going well.
Yeah, you weren't there
and
yet.
I noticed that Jimmy was also feeling good. I think he had just gotten divorced and he had just gotten together with the the woman that he's still with, and he had Buttercup with him. Remember that dog,
No, I don't.
Buttercup?
It wasn't that. Oh, yeah, I don't know about.
Yeah. Somehow I think the dog was inside the tractor. And Jimmy was sitting on the veranda where the champion simulcasting room is located, or just nearby, where there was a bar out there. It was fantastic. And he was hitting everything, man. The guy was hitting everything. And I'm looking around going, wow, how beautiful is this? Jimmy Johnson enjoying the absolute, incomparable splendor of Hialeah Park. And now you can still enjoy all of that and, gamble your brains out too. So what could be better? Vegas style games. Get the players card. The rewards program is sensational. You'll also be able to play poker. And, of course, my favorite, the Champion Simulcasting Room, where this weekend you can bet the Florida Derby.
Nice.
A huge card in the Gulfstream, and a lot of big races all around the country for the 3-year-olds. So going to be a spectacular day. Make sure you make your plans. You might have to make a reservation to get one of those private booths there.
Yeah,
But,
that's
in general, you can hang out there with that Latin vibe and just, somber your way right to the window for both betting and cashing at beautiful Hialeah Park. All right, coming back with Brian White, the athletic director at FAU. We'll get into that story and see. He was the guy that brought in Dusty May.
Yes.
And then had to convince him to stay. So this should be interesting. And then Tony's going to join us in the 8 o'clock hour, and I hope carry the show the rest of the way.
Yeah, we'll see.
Mayo says he's going to be like sucking down helium to compete with his voice.
To compete with us. No, you and me. He's lumping. Don't worry. At least yours will change, God willing. This is mine.
I think it's very distinct, Lubie. It's funny because, the stuff becomes ingrained in your head, when you're doing, a certain type of thing. And, there's a repetition to this in terms of the pattern and the way things happen. But when I'm just like thinking things out now, sometimes about a show or whatever, when I'm doing a walk of life, your voice pops up.
Oh, I don't know.
It's amazing, yeah. And I have to say, it fits. It really does. It becomes, more than an acquired taste, Lubie. So,
sorry, you're stuck with this voice too.
Like my New York Post, I'm not sure I can function without it at this point.
Well, we'll see.
Yeah. I may have to. You may have to go your own way there and say, hey, listen, the old man just doesn't have it anymore. All right, back with Brian White in a moment. Now that.
The time.
7:43.
Folks, Tony Segreto here. Let me ask you a question. What do you look for when you go out to eat? Good food, obviously, friendly atmosphere, not too loud, but good energy, reasonable prices, and a place where you feel comfortable. All those ingredients, no pun meant there, are hard to find unless you're talking about the Texas Roadhouse. You see, they encompass all of those attributes. Really, really good food, amazing atmosphere, good for a family, good for a date, or just a night out for yourself, and prices that will make you extremely happy. Their ribs, unmatched. Steaks, hand cut every day. Everything, and I mean everything, is made on site, including their incredible bread. It's the one day, folks, that you can forget about low-carb diets. Trust me when I tell you, Texas Roadhouse, your restaurant, your destination when you say, where should we go and eat tonight?
From the newly renovated sports bar to the beautiful bayside views captured at the Tiki Bar, Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill has it all. Located at mile marker 104, the Big Chill also offers waterfront dining while experiencing breathtaking sunset views of the Florida Keys. It's simply the hottest spot in the Keys to cool off. That's Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill at mile marker 104 in Key Largo. For more information, call today at 305-453-9066.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I couldn't get your question.
You were a coach that you coached all kinds of teams. You had teams that...
Hey, say it in English. Got it?
Enjoy your trip to work with lots of laughs thanks to Defo and Lubie. Now on the Defo Show.
That was a great moment in broadcasting history when Lubie got a chance to interview his idol, Bobby Bowden. Had been dreaming about it for a long time. Was all excited. I think, did you write some questions down?
I don't know what I did, honestly. I don't think I wrote it.
Are you being, chased by the police there? You got some
I just did that.
flashing red light going there in the background. All right, we're awaiting to hear from Brian White, the athletic director at FAU. These people are usually extremely prompt, so I'd imagine it would be momentarily that we have him on the line here. And it's a great story. We spent the first 40 minutes or so of the show kind of talking about just how unbelievable it is and the different unbelievable things that we've been, tried to, beat made to believe during the course of time that I've been here in South Florida, and there have been several. I mean, that have been just unfathomable. But this seems as unlikely as anything that you could ever imagine. Especially as we've talked about many, many times here over the years, the relative indifference that many people had to college basketball in general in South Florida, in spite of the fact that it's a great place to play basketball because you can play outside year round and get a schwitz going.
Yep.
And then beyond that, you have a lot of guys that played basketball their whole lives growing up in other cities that came down here and let's have a game. You'd figure the quality would be pretty good, but there was an indifference to college basketball for sure. Welcome to the show, and this is great. And first of all, let's say hello to the athletic director at Florida Atlantic University. First time on the program here, and we welcome Brian White to the program. Brian, how are you? And sorry about the voice. Mine is impaired, and Lubie's is his real voice. So it's kind of a weird collection of voices, but good to have you on as an additional voice on the show. How are you, my friend?
I couldn't be better, and it's great to be on. Thank you for having me.
Well, it's a pleasure. We were talking, and this is. I've been here 42 years doing sports, and we've been told a lot of things that seemed unfathomable, and we've had some improbable victories where we've had defeats that were devastating. But I don't know in my wildest imagination, and I think this is pretty much the common thread that anybody could have ever envisioned that Florida Atlantic University and the University of Miami in basketball would be two teams in the Final Four for a championship, as is taking place on Saturday night. Have you seen anything like this in your wildest anticipation? Could you have foreseen this circumstance?
No. We knew we'd have a good year and believed in our team. But what are the odds, us and Miami? I think it's Miami's first Final Four ever.
Yes.
Final ever, 4-year ever, and by like 17 different metrics, the best year we've ever had. And just so excited for everything going on with South Florida hoops.
Well, we talked with Dusty May. Actually, we were sort of coerced and pushed into interest in the program. A friend of ours, also a sports journalist for many years, was saying, "Hey, are you watching this FAU story? Are you going to have the coach on? What are you doing? You're never even talking about these guys." And you guys, I think at the time, were immersed in like a 21-game winning streak, setting a collegiate record for the year, and looking great in the process. And then we finally got to talk to Dusty May, and we were extremely impressed, with what he had to say. And then certainly after the Sweet 16 appearance, he came on the show, and it was even more amazing. I'm thinking, wow, who is this guy? Where did he come from? You're the guy that brought him to the forefront. So, what did you see there? And then I was reading an interesting story that maybe that first hour after he signed his contract didn't go so smoothly.
It's funny. I guess first of all, what did I see in Dusty? I've known him for a long time, and I've worked with him actually previously at a different stop. And he's just, you've talked with him. He's that way every day. He just never had a bad day. Incredibly resilient, high energy, extremely hardworking. And I think he has a special talent for relationships, which is important with coaching. Relationships with the players, with his staff, et cetera. And he loves the game of basketball, and that's kind of contagious with the team. In terms of, when he started at FAU, I actually didn't hear that story until recently. He was, I think the emotion of a new job, new role, et cetera. He was probably just a little more honest than most. We've since heard many other coaches that started a new role kind of come out and say they had a similar experience. So I think it's kind of cool that he opened up the way he did. But overall, I mean, he's been incredible. This year has obviously been special, but it's been building the last 5 years. We only had 5 winning seasons in the history of the program prior to Dusty arriving, and he's had 5 straight winning seasons, each one better than the last, and really been building the foundation from the ground up the right way. You see the fruits of his labor this year.
Brian White, who's the AD at FAU, part of a wild. I mean, this is beyond Cinderella. They have to come up with a new fairy tale for this one. It's absolutely a fantastic story, and the country seems to be riding along with you right now. And I would imagine you've seen that wave Because I don't know how the crowds were at the beginning of the year, but I would think that you had just been inundated with ticket requests from people you haven't heard from in years by the time you got to the end of the regular season.
Absolutely. The crowds started to get really good last year. And then this year they've been good throughout, but those last 7 games, the demand was off the charts with the number of people that couldn't even get in the arena. So we definitely have heard from people that maybe lost touch with the program or had never been involved, but been FAU grads from afar. They're all in right now, and they're all trying to go to Houston. And I know Dusty's phone's pinging with messages from people he hasn't talked to in 10 years. I'm getting messages from people I haven't talked to since college, and great news. How many kids do you have? It's been great to reconnect with a lot of people because we've just got so much excitement around the program.
Well, and the funny thing is, this was going to be a big season regardless, because next year you all move into the AAC, which is, if not considered a Power 5 in basketball, it's considered a Power 6. I mean, Houston was a number 1 seed out of the AAC, so that was already going to be a big move. You now will take into that move a Final Four appearance. Hopefully, look, a national title would be amazing. What does that move mean? Because we all know with conferences, it means a lot more money, the bigger the conference. What are you looking forward to with that move, and how did that move really come about? You being the AD, I'm sure you had a lot to do with engineering that move.
Absolutely. For us, we were constantly trying to grow our brand. As the athletic department, we exist to be the front porch of the university and to have great exposure. And the American just has much better, there's better finances involved, obviously a better conference distribution, which is always great. But probably more importantly, our games will now be on ESPN and ESPN2 and occasionally on ABC or ESPNU, as opposed to our prior in Conference USA, we've had a lot more games on the streaming networks. So for our fans to be able to watch our games, for the casual person to be able to just turn on the TV anywhere in the country and just see Florida Atlantic, that's the huge advantage. From a basketball perspective, I know many kind of worried about that's the concern I got when we first announced we were going to American. They said, well, we know you've had a lot of football success, but is your basketball team going to be able to survive in such a great conference? Well, now with this run, and we believed all along, but I know, with this run and having played in American school, the first round of the tournament, Memphis, who won their conference tournament and beat them, and now we're going in as a Final Four team into the American. I don't think anybody's questioning that anymore.
Did you have Fairleigh Dickinson beating Purdue in your bracket? Because that certainly opened up the door, you would have to think, for FAU a little bit anyway.
Yeah.
That helped, but I'll tell you what, Fairleigh Dickinson was pretty darn good. Yeah. They were gritty.
And along those lines, I mean, Tobin Anderson, an unknown commodity. Fairleigh Dickinson gets in there kind of on a fluke because the team that won the conference tournament wasn't eligible after moving to Division I, hadn't been there long enough. So, if anything, there was a possibility we would have never seen him or heard of this guy. Patino goes to St. John's. Anderson gets the Iona job. I would think we were speculating, have the Rockets contacted Dusty May? I mean, you couldn't be a hotter commodity in coaching. And, this is right, in your wheelhouse as the athletic director there. This has to be a difficult thing to manage because you could easily see this job. I don't mean to characterize it this way, but, as some kind of stepping stone, for either a young guy like Dusty May or a guy who was bouncing back in his career, as Lane Kiffin was when he had success at FAU in football. And I think you might have overlapped
He was there.
with Kiffin at the time. But you knew that if he did well there, he's gone. So how much, and how carefully do you have to look at that aspect of things? And where does that stand with Dusty May, if you don't mind us asking?
Sure. No, not at all. I think it's a question many are asking. And, our focus is on the moment. We're playing for Final Four and a national championship here this week. So I know if there's one person, or a group of people that's locked in, it's Dusty May and this team. I'm not worried about that. So we're focused on the moment and enjoying this, for our fans, for everybody. We got to enjoy this. We'll remember this forever. So let's live in this moment and enjoy it. I do know, in terms of Coach May, he loves FAU. He loves Boca Raton. He loves South Florida, and he loves this team that he's built. So I do think it'd be really hard for him to leave everything he's built. And he's, it's not common you could say that we're the guy that built the program from the ground up. So I think he knows this is something unique, and he knows FAU is a stock on the rise. We're not the biggest brand name, household name right now, although this run is growing our brand exponentially. But we have not been historically the brand name, the household name, the mature brand that's 150 years old. Like some of these schools, we're a younger team. But I don't think that means we can't be in the future. And so this is a growing institution going into the American and ever improving. And I know Coach may appreciate all that.
Diametrically opposed on the geographical map, but you could be the Southeast Gonzaga after this run, where all of a sudden you have a guy in place there like Dusty May, and he's able to continue. We see this now with the transfer portal, and I guess it's already been an issue discussed as I was perusing some articles about the Final Four. People were talking about how schools like FAU, they have a good basketball player. And now with the transfer portal and name, image, and likeness, it's not impossible to conceive that some other team might even be, prematurely, approaching these people about, hey, why don't you play for us for $800,000 a year? How much of that is going on, and how does that change the dynamic of being an AD at one of these schools?
It's a sad reality that there's always been rules in college athletics, and there's always been people that didn't operate within them. We're hugely supportive of name, image, likeness, and helping our players be successful in name, image, likeness, and that's what we're going to continue to do in a very legitimate way for our players we have here. We want them to have great success. And I think we can here in South Florida. There's a lot of wealth here. There's a lot of big business here, and this team has, I think, endeared itself to this community. So hopefully our players can have a lot of success right here. As far as everything else that's going on, I guess we got to focus on ourselves and know that we're going to do things the right way here. And I think that we can be really, really successful as we have been this year on doing things the right way in this community, and hopefully have more and more success on an NIL front.
Glass slippers all the way around Boca.
Yes, sir.
No more Gucci shoes. It's going to be glass slippers, I think. And it's great to see this ride. Hey, we thank you for taking time. I know you've been inundated with requests for interviews, as is the case with Dusty May. And, we can dream. It seems even more impossible to think of an FAU-UM final, but that would really be something. And I know Dusty May and Jim Larinaga are friendly and, have corresponded and congratulatory towards each other after you both made the Final Four. Phenomenal thing. Almost unfathomable. Brian White, AD at FAU, thanks so much for being with us. And if it does become a local final, can we call you for tickets? Now that we're friends.
We can call. I may not answer.
Yeah, you don't have to answer. And
all right,
Brian.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it. All right, Brian White. Good guy, huh?
Yeah, he was fun.
Very forthright about some of the things that might have been sensitive that you could have easily fluffed over and said, Dusty's dedicated to the community here. They gave us, a little bit of that may be true, right?
No. He's a young dude. He gets to the Final Four, and they're now moving to a bigger conference. I think that saves their ass. I think the fact that they're moving to an AAC, you can say, look, why go there? We're in that conference already. We're now in a place where you don't have to win the conference to make the tournament. How
about the fabulous moolah, though? Some Boca dentist is going to have to ante up some funds, no?
What I wanted to ask him when we were running out of time was, what do you do to keep him? Is moving to the AC the kind of thing that makes you feel more confident?
I don't think that would be enough when he sees guys making $5 million a year and he's beating them.
No, that's the point. It's like you're moving to that conference, you now will have more money, so you now can pay him. Because it's all about money. That's...
Well, I think I'm not sure how they divide the conference capital. I would imagine that's an issue. But the money that's being generated, I think, is some phenomenal number, like $8 million you get for making it to this to the Final Four.
Yes.
Does the school get that, or is that the conference?
They said their budget athletic budget was like 1.5 mil or some weird thing like that, or 1.5 mil is what they spent on basketball, whatever it is. That was a number I saw, and they're going to make like $8 million just being in the Final Four.
It's like they wanted The Price is Right or something. I mean, this is great. But, definitely got Dusty May on his rookie contract there. And I saw different conflicting figures. One had him at like 350 in terms of hundreds of thousands, and the other had him at like $500,000.
Jeez.
But they were talking about Barnes, who he went against and beat, and went with Tennessee, who was making $5 million a year.
Yeah, I mean, he's been a coach forever, though. He's
For
made
very-
four,
yeah.
had 1 seeds. I mean,
Yeah. So anyway, that was fun. All right. Interesting gentleman. You can see why he's been successful.
yeah, he's fun.
And was appreciative of that. And I think that was good. A little different perspective than we would have gotten from Dusty May. And the details on that story, just real quickly, are that Dusty May, after signing his contract, went back to the hotel room in FAU. He went back to his hotel room. He saw his wife, and he started, weeping
And what the hell?
uncontrollably, saying, "I've ruined my career." Because he saw the facilities. That this is as rinky-dink as you could get, man. Never mind the
We were
beach.
there. We were there. It's nice, and I like
Yeah.
FAU. It's not comparable to fucking the SEC and the ACC. It's just
Right? You show the kid the beach, and he sees all these bikini-clad spring breakers down here on a recruiting trip, and he's like, "Yeah, this is where I want to go."
Yep.
Would I have gone to Syracuse if I knew there was an FAU? No,
Oh,
never in a million years.
No. There's no way.
Plus, you could have played baseball outside then instead of playing it with the snowdrift defining the outfield barrier there. Never mind the fence there. Once it gets to the snow, it'll never roll any further. But I can't find a ball.
That's the problem. It's a white ball in snow.
Look for the seams, Defo. That was the way it went. I mean, who wouldn't have come to FAU? Sunshine. Well, I mean, that's all you got to do is point to the sky. You want that? Come on in here, kid. But the facilities supposedly were so dismal that Dusty May thought he was ruined. And I thought Brian White, I guess we had that part of the story wrong. Brian White talked him out of it.
Well, it felt like he must have done. You would think he had done something, but maybe Dusty May kept it to himself, I guess.
Yeah. He said he hadn't heard the story until he read it, much like I did. All right, Tony's coming up. Tony Segreto. We'll go old school. It's been kind of fun doing a lot of that today here on the program. And our thanks to Brian White for joining us. We'll be back with more. Tony Segreto brought to you by Texas Roadhouse Restaurants. In a moment. Now that. It's 8:03.
Ponies in Style at Champions, the outstanding simulcasting room at beautiful Hialeah Park. Yes, the grand old lady of thoroughbred racing has never been more vibrant, and you can wager on the races from the top tracks around the country while enjoying a cocktail at the Brass Rail Bar or any of the fine food served throughout the facility. If poker is your game, you're covered in style, and you can play all your favorite Vegas-style games, including blackjack, craps, and roulette, in Hialeah Park's sizzling hot casino. Get a player's card when you walk through the door for all kinds of generous amenities, including our favorite, free play, when you come out to the ultimate casino and entertainment destination, Hialeah Park.
Hey folks, Tony Segreto here. You know, since day one, Catholic Health Services has been part of Old School. And since we've started letting people know about them, it's changed their lives. You see, Catholic Health Services, while being recognized as one of the top places for stroke rehab in the country, it's also about a group of people who not just excel in what they do, from the doctors to the nurses to the therapists, on and on and on. It's how they do what they do every single day that separates them from the pack. They do it with a passion, unmatched, and the inclusion of family in every step of the process. Trust me when I tell you this. If you want the best, unmatched rehab with a special group of skilled, caring people, there is truly only one place, and that one place is Catholic Health Services.
These days, we're all looking for comfort anywhere we can find it. Thank goodness for Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill in the Plantation location, because they are making sure you are as comfortable as possible. First of all, they're not only open for delivery and pickup. All you have to do is go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both pickup and free delivery. Their hours have changed a little bit. Monday through Thursday from 3:30 to 10, and Friday, Saturday, and Sunday from 11:30 to 10. You're going to have the best wings in the world. You're going to have a great burger. You're going to have their amazing soups. Again, Landlubbers, Raw Bar and Grill. It's nice and easy. Just go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both your pickup and free delivery. Thank goodness for Landlubbers for making you always feel right at home.
What we gonna do right here is go back, way back into time.
We are now kicking it old school with the one and only Tony Segreto, brought to you by Catholic Health Services and Texas Roadhouse.
All right. Welcome back to the show. Jeff DeForest. We got Mike Lubie Lubitz, and we welcome, once again on the bandwagon, the great one himself.
Once again on the bandwagon. What crap is that?
Even
You never rooted for UM
That's
before.
such
You
bull-
never even mentioned UM. All the
That's
time we've had you on the
bullshit.
show.
Yeah, all right. I'm out. See you all later.
Big
Hey,
UM.
listen, we
You're
can
on
do
the board,
show.
for God's sake.
Hey,
You're on the board.
listen, we can
Yes.
do the show without you. We did it on Friday. Nice and easy.
Yeah.
No consternation, no attacks, nothing. It was like you weren't even there.
We can't make it that easy for you, Tony. You know, it wouldn't be fun. Hey, anyway, a pleasure.
Hey, how are you? Obviously, it went from your wrist to your throat.
The wrist is still bad. I'm actually seeing a doctor finally today. Some sort of doctor. I'm not sure.
Finally today?
Yeah.
We're talking a week.
He's been trying.
You know what?
you're the worst.
My orthopedic guy retired. He used to see me right away if I had a problem. Okay, so I hadn't
There
seen him
are
in about a
other.
year.
There are other.
Well,
orthopedics.
I don't know any of them. And the first appointment available was like, April 15th. And then they would say the year after that, which I was like, I'll be dead by then. What are you talking about, man? This thing hurts. So, and I didn't want to go to some, urgent care place and wait 4 hours to have somebody tell me, well, we don't really do that, because, there are other sick people they should attend to. And,
You going to
there's
get your
not much-
throat taken care of too? What's going on?
The throat seems, it's just, I think that's a quirky thing that just happened. I had like the slightest of colds, and it sort of evolved into this. But I feel fine. I really do. I mean, overall, feeling great. And how could you not feel great, Tony Segreto?
Yes. What the heck?
We were talking about this for the better part of an hour, like some of the more unbelievable things that have happened in South Florida that they tried to sell the sports world. All right, your name came up, of course, because we were talking about the two things that really were like the most, just far fetched to me that anybody tried to convince me of. Well, three: Ron Rothstein quitting, being the Heat head coach, so that Kevin Lockery could come in, who was good friends with Billy Cunningham and Lou Chaffel. But that he was having a nervous breakdown and he wanted to quit the job. That Stan Van Gundy wanted to leave the coaching ranks permanently because he was regretful that he hadn't spent enough time at Disney World with his 14-year-old daughter. And then that Don Shula decided, you know what? Everybody's right. Jimmy should be the coach of his team. Let's hold a press conference to announce I'm leaving.
It was his decision.
And I'm sure you were at all of those events,
all of them.
But none of those were as unbelievable as UM and FAU being in the Final Four. That's my
Well, I've got to like rewind here. First of all, Brian White, what a class!
That was great.
Class young man. Now you have to understand the lineage in which he comes from. You know, we have the Florida Derby coming up and the Kentucky Derby, and horses are rated basically, of course, on their latest performance, but they're rated on their lineage, on their father, their mother. And Brian White is just, it's remarkable. He comes from a family of athletic directors and athletic facilitators. I spent time with his dad. His dad was at Notre Dame, athletic director, then went to Duke. I spent time at Duke with his father. Father was just a remarkable man. And Brian just, is the epitome of class, integrity. If I were FAU, I wouldn't worry so much about Dusty May leaving. I'd be worrying about Brian White leaving.
Okay.
That would be my concern, because you have yourself probably one of the quintessential young athletic directors in the entire country. I mean, just knows how to do it, he knows how to treat people. You walk around the facility with Brian White and people love him. I mean, absolutely love him. And this isn't just because he's the boss. This is, you could just tell from their heart. And good for FAU. There was a story yesterday about how the bookstore, they didn't know what to do. They had to order more than they have ever ordered before. They couldn't handle it.
Because you have to go there. They don't sell. Like if you go to a Walmart or a Publix.
No way. Well, if you go to Walmart in not too far from campus, they have it.
In South Florida, you can get.
Don't knock over Mayo when he's buying his $5 seltzer.
It's sort of like when you go
FAU stuff. I can't go to Walmart here in Coral Springs and find FAU.
You know where you could no, but you're not going to find UM probably much further north than Palm Beach.
Yeah.
So
Miami's got kind of a universal
if
logo,
you,
though. I mean, you'll
yeah,
see
it is.
people all
It
over the
is
country.
well. It's
Yeah.
been around longer, and
Yeah.
it's a much easier. Listen, the logo this is iconic. It's
Yes.
absolutely. There isn't a place I go in the country, and I'm wearing my University of Miami hat, where I mean, people are just they're flashing up the U. It's just the way. It's just the way it is.
Yeah, you go to a boxing match in Colombia. There's two guys in Miami hats. Yeah.
Absolutely, and it's it's sort of like
you stuff.
Hey, listen. All kidding aside, if you go to specific Cracker Barrels, they're going to be having like the colleges near them, all of their merchandise. So it's there. It's there. But you know what else? So I'm going to give you a quick lesson. I'm going to give you and our viewers a quick lesson. Have you ever heard of the word scotoma?
Scotoma. Let me see. Can you use it in a sentence?
He was going to spell it.
Do you know? No. So here it is. Basically, what it is, the scotoma is the blind spot in your brain.
Okay.
It's and the best way to describe it is this: if you all of a sudden, if Defo goes out and buys himself a red Sonata, and he gets in the car and starts driving it, all of a sudden he's driving around and he's seeing red Sonatas everywhere.
Yeah,
like everywhere. Like how is that? How did that all happen? It's because you care about it, because it's yours. And it's
there
something
you go. That
know.
makes sense. Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
So it's like you're not aware of the FAU logo. First of all, it's not something that would be in your mind and in your purview. But I tell you, I bet you if you look around, you'll see a lot more of it than you did before. And it's not because just of the Final Four. It's because people are out there.
Yeah, you see one fat French Canadian on a beach with an FAU thing on, and you're thinking, oh yeah, there's another Montreal Canadian fan.
Hey,
but it's
listen.
like it's not as much of a surprise anymore.
This is, I was telling my daughter last night, FAU was able to do what St. Peter's wasn't.
Yeah, get to that.
Get to the Final Four. Yeah.
Yeah. St. Peter's last year had this world captivated.
Yeah.
Everybody wanted to be a peacock. Every single person, and not just because of NBC, but everybody wanted to be a peacock, and they just couldn't get the job done. What Dusty May has done, and the belief and the ability of these young people, and then we've got to flip it. What Larinaga has done, and listen,
I think with a more daunting, feeling.
Absolutely. And I just want to share something with you. I'm going to pull the curtain back just a little bit, not the whole way, but one of my dearest friends, who I actually work with at the University of Miami on a number of projects that we're doing. She's a professor, and she has a number of the basketball players in her class. And she raves about them, about their work ethic, about how good they are in class, how embracing they are to the student body. She just loves those players, and it's testimony to Larinaga, and I've said this before in the past that coaches are no longer going for that A+ 5-star player who may have a little bit of a sketchy background. They're
I'm not sure about that.
They're recruiting. I am telling you, Defo, flat out, they're recruiting.
Maybe the successful guys this year, are getting
they're recruit. A lot of these coaches, these good coaches, are recruiting character as much as talent. And what Larinaga has put together, these young men, and what Dusty May has put together, these young men have represented their schools, their families, their institutions.
This is so Segreto. I mean, it's great.
It is just
It's
beautiful.
It's your dream. It's your dream situation. It really is. It's
No,
great.
but I think you need to look at this. You can't be freaking cynical the whole damn time.
No, I'm not cynical.
You can't be. It's not all about betting on a game. It's about.
You're used to me going against the grain, but no, I think it's all true. That's what's great about it. Yeah,
these two schools.
This Jordan Miller kid, I'm telling you, I heard him on with Zagacki on the radio. I was going to pick up some Chinese food before one of the Houston game.
The Houston game. Yeah.
Okay, so I listen to this kid. I'm like, who the hell is this guy, man? He sounds great. And then he goes out and has a game like he did, in the second game when they knocked off Texas, and you're like, wow. I mean, Could anybody be more perfect than this Jordan Miller guy? And I thought of you. I thought, wow, this is the epitome of Segreto's philosophies that he's been pounding us with.
For years.
And it's happening. It's there with a
I
great
told
coach
you.
who is a great influence on people.
I'm telling you, they make a difference. I cannot tell you, for example, I'm just going to use my daughter as an example. To be around and to be involved with Florida State softball and the coach they have there, that coach has made such an influence on her, such an amazing, incredible influence on her. And the Larinagas of the world do the same thing. And when you look at Jordan Miller's the go-to guy. Who do they interview now? Do they interview Wong? No. Do they interview the other players? No. Who are they going to? They're going to Jordan Miller. It's just it's remarkable.
Well,
it's
they would. I mean, the guy shot 20 for 20 in a game from the field and the foul line combined. We were saying this, Tony. I don't know how many times you did this in your lifetime. I've done it many times, where you're the point guard for the Knicks or whatever, and you're out the park, and you're out playing by yourself, and you got a ball and you're dribbling around and jumper from the corner. Yeah, it's good. DeForest again for 3.
Yeah.
If you tried to go out there and hit 20 straight shots,
wide open, no one there,
including 13 from the free throw line, but 7 baskets from various spots on the field, there's no way you go 20 for 20 with nobody there.
No,
much less in a Elite 8 game with a chance to go to the Final Four.
To this day, how many of us still? I'm going to be 73 in 3 weeks.
You are? Get out of here.
Yeah, and
you look so young, Tony.
You get it.
It's got to be the Texas Roadhouse food.
Yeah, it is. Well, we're coming up on that. But listen, you have a wad of paper that you're in the kitchen or you're in your office and you're going, 3, and you're still doing this.
Segreto from the corner.
During the baseball season, how many times do you get up to an imaginary bat with the bases loaded, 2 outs in the 9th and 3-2 count? You still do it, no matter how old you are. So, let's relish in this. This is going to be We got this weekend, my gosh, we got the Florida Derby. We got the Final Four. Oh, my. What else do you want? Baseball's going to start in another
we didn't even know it was opening day tomorrow. We had to remind ourselves.
Yeah. So, and then we got Ed Garcia. Come on.
Oh,
what
man.
more could you possibly
that's the topper
want?
Here.
Ed Garcia, good morning. I need some rolls sent to my house for this weekend.
Absolutely. No problem. Good morning, everybody.
Oh, my gosh.
How are you? I mean, how unbelievable is that in your estimation? You've been down here in South Florida now for some time. I mean, that FAU and the University of Miami in basketball would both be in the same Final Four, or ever in the Final Four for that matter.
Hey, I think that is absolutely awesome. So proud to represent and to see both, Florida teams in there rocking it out. It's very exciting stuff. So looking forward to some couple great matchups.
Do you have a store, by the way? Do you have a restaurant near FAU or Miami or UM? I'm trying to think. Coconut Creek, probably the nearest one for UM, right?
Kendall. I know there's a Kendall.
Kendall's close. We have one not too far from the airport, so it's a little bit of drive to the University of Miami, and then we got West Palm, Coconut Creek, near FAU. So, but I mean, there's plenty, and we're building more every day. So we're trying.
Well, I'm sure you're going to be rocking out this weekend with the Final Four and with all the other events that are going on. I wanted to talk to you again about everything you make homemade, because again, this whole weekend, even when I was on with Mike Mayo on Friday, he says, I didn't know the poppers were made like that. But let's talk about, I want to specifically go to the mashed potatoes because we mentioned it last week, and then the sweet potatoes. And because I want to get Jeff's eyes to get a little bit wider this morning. So tell us a little bit about how you prepare those and how people can expect to get something just a little bit different at Texas Roadhouse, or a lot different, that they're not made, at 6 a.m. in the morning and then just reheated.
Well, I'll tell you, the mashed potatoes, I mean, it starts off with, a really great potato. So we go with Idaho. That's one of the best ones. Has the perfect starch level, so you get that nice creamy consistency. And I'll be honest, we sit there and we take half the skin off on our potato. We wash them first really good, and we take half the skin off, so that way you can tell, hey, it's not out of a box. So you may see some small pieces of skin that's in there, but it's nice and clean. It gives it that nice earthy potato flavor. And I'll tell you, we put a little bit of cream in there, some salt, some pepper, and we make it fresh. It takes us about 25, 30 minutes, and we only keep them for just about 45 minutes. That's about how long it lasts. Now, we can make them 10, 20, 30 pounds, and that's pretty much as big as the pot can get. But we're making them fresh all night long to get that nice, natural, creamy consistency for an awesome potato. And then our sweet potatoes, I'll tell you, we have a little bit of a secret when we bake it, but it gives it that nice shell.
Right, we're not going to tell anybody. I swear, it's just the four of us. It's just the four of us. We promise we won't tell anybody.
But I'll tell you, it keeps that flavor on the inside. Our sweet potatoes are the best. I'll tell you, I've tried to replicate it at home for Thanksgiving and a couple of other things, and it's pretty challenging, to get that nice sweet potato. And it does take forever to cook at home because, our sweet potatoes get up to 1 pound potato.
Jeez.
I mean, they are ginormous and taste absolutely great.
All right, so you're not going to tell us the secret, but once they're done, okay, these 1 pound spuds, I mean, which is a dinner or a dessert that 4 people can share. Then what do you do? I know it's cinnamon honey butter, and then is it honey or maple syrup and then marshmallows? Is that
we
how
make a honey cinnamon caramel sauce from scratch? I'll tell you. We mix it up there in the pot, and we do make that in the morning, and we we portion it out for all the sweet potatoes for the day. But so we'll put like a 1/3 cup of marshmallows, then we'll put that caramel sauce, and then we put another cup of marshmallows on top of that, and we toast them. So when you order it, so that way you get that nice, it's almost like a s'mores, honey cinnamon caramel s'mores on a sweet potato. It's really kind of cool.
You know what they need? You know what Texas Road? They need a Hall of Fame. If anybody can have a sweet potato salad and the big ribeye all in one sitting, they deserve to be on the wall. Don't you think?
Yeah, kind of like Shula's Steakhouse, where only offensive linemen were able to down the entire steak. They had the challenge on. I'm going to give you the litmus test here, and sorry about the voice here, Ed, but I had that steak in the refrigerator the next day. We had the bone-in ribeye. It was great when I had it at the restaurant. I eat about half of it, and I can still visualize when I opened up the takeout box, the doggy bag, the next day when I got done with the show, and I started carving that thing up, and I thought, wow, I mean, this steak is sensational. I mean, even the next day, it still had the great grill marks and flavoring, and just cooked to perfection. And I thought, well, wow, I mean, I would have paid 3 times this amount at another restaurant, and it wouldn't have been, any better quality. That's for sure.
Well, definitely. It all starts where, our selection process and that it's hand cut. So it's not been sitting in a grocery store or somewhere. It's not been frozen. You're getting that natural quality. And I think that makes it absolutely fantastic. And it's great to reheat the next day. I'll be honest. We did this Sunday morning. We had a whole bunch of Roadhouse steaks, a whole bunch of friends. We were actually in Utah. And then Sunday morning, I carved them all up, put them into some little cubes, took a little pat of butter, tossed it in a little skillet pan, got it nice and hot with some scrambled eggs on the side. I'll tell you, it was absolutely amazing.
Yeah, it's like 2 meals for the price of one. It's incredible. Exactly. You should just feature it as a BOGO. It's not good. All right, who you picking, Ed? Who you picking in the game?
I would really like to see University of Miami bring it home. So I think that would be awesome. So that's my pick.
All right, very good.
All right, Ed. Listen, you guys are fantastic. We're getting notes here on the air saying people go there for lunch, and it was fantastic. It's just been great relationship. We love Texas Roadhouse. The food is great. The way people care is even better. So you have a great day, and let's go Canes and Owls. Let's see what we can get done.
Yes, let's go. Have a great one, guys.
Yeah, thanks, Ed. Always a pleasure.
Can you imagine?
Yeah, that'd be a good idea for a watch party, though, Tony. Saturday night.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Who's having a basketball watch party? Has anybody?
Well, they're having both campuses. Yet? Both campuses are having watch parties.
I'm talking about bars and places that could be. Remember when the World Series was going on in '97 and bars? I remember there was a bar by. I know you're familiar with like the 79th Street Causeway. There.
Yeah.
I don't know if Channel 7 ever tried to court you away from NBC. But you were at IOD. I mean, I was there.
Yeah. If they called, I didn't answer.
Remember the bar Shuckers? I mean, they had to put up like a movie screen to accommodate the people watching the playoff games. Remember, everybody got involved in that run. So
speaking,
where's that happening?
Speaking of 79th Street and bars that we used to go to, we used to go to the Bonfire, and just, I mean, they would have a TV at the bar, certainly not what we have today, but I'm sure there are watch parties. And if there's anybody that's having one, anybody that knows a bar that's having one, let us know, because we'd love to
Shouldn't
let
this be a
people
big
know.
deal Saturday? I mean, both teams
Oh,
in
no,
action
it's gonna be
against
a
other
smash.
teams.
I'm sure. I listen. I am sure if you go to any ale house or wherever you go and there's a TV, people are going to be dressed.
Look,
in
as bad as
their
South Florida is, especially with college basketball, this is when we are elite. We love the big event. There's nothing.
We're an event. Well, listen, we're an event town, and all of a sudden, all the people
Final four.
that fell off, that jumped off the bandwagons are now jumping back on. And I give credit to those who have followed these teams all year long. They're getting hot at the right time. There's going to be, both of these teams are going to be really tested. I do believe, just from an X's and O standpoint, and Lubie and I talked a little bit about, or Sarni and I actually talked about that.
Oh, you're in touch with Sarni?
Yeah, I believe.
Be
that,
careful, Tony. Be careful.
I believe that
he has influences that I don't know what kind of powers he has over people, but
he gets us doing.
I believe that the FAU matches up a little bit better with San Diego State.
Well, yeah, so do the odds makers. I mean, it's a 2-point game. San Diego State certainly doesn't, strike anybody as being any great juggernaut, although supposedly, and I forgot who fed this to me, but and it might have been the lovely and talented one, or it might have been Sarni. I think it was Sarni, actually, that there were 38 brackets that were submitted of the 2 million to ESPN in their contest. Like 38 of them had these teams as the Final Four.
Wow,
that seems preposterous.
That's ridiculous.
I can't see anybody having these 4 teams as the Final Four.
Me either. And listen, God bless them if they have them. You know what? I just think that, and again, I'm going to go back to where we were before we brought Ed on. I think that people should really embrace this, not so much because it's Miami and FAU, but because they're great stories. We talk about the Olympics, right, Jeff? Listening to these great stories, and even now as we come to the Derby and hearing some of these great stories of families pooling their money together to buy a horse, and the horse is in the Derby, and the horse is a favorite. One of those things.
Mind that bird. What a story that was.
Yeah.
We were there. It was like all the signs from the gods of gambling pointed to this horse
exactly.
at 50-1, and I whiffed on it.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean,
whiffed. hey, right there. Opening day.
But regardless, I think you have this coach, 73 years old, Larinaga. Is that correct with his age? Something.
Yeah.
Like that?
You know what's great?
Who stayed current. I mean,
did you catch him yesterday on the show? The guy was brilliant.
I did not. I wanted to,
wow.
but just
it was fun. I mean,
inspiring guy who is able to cross generations and be cool without forcing it, And
he is genuine to the core.
Yeah,
I mean, he started talking about how he met his wife dancing.
Yeah, as genuine as he can be,
yeah.
and humble and and he's like that regardless of whether he's in the Final Four or not. Okay, so let's not tell people, oh my God, all of a sudden it's like this. No, he's always like this. And then
very much he would have been the same if he lost.
Absolutely, and then you have a Dusty May. And again, I think the thing about Larinaga, and we heard Brian White say this, is that listen, in the words of Jimmy, this is a business trip. Okay, they're leaving today. It's going to be a business trip, but at the same time, you want these teams and family members and even the players to enjoy the moment.
Oh,
that doesn't mean you can't work it and be, but you have to enjoy this. South Florida has to enjoy this and embrace this, and just take it for what it is and have fun with it.
It's unbelievable, Tony.
Yeah,
it's more unbelievable than Shula walked into Huizinga's office and said, "You know what? The game has passed me by. I don't have it anymore."
Yeah,
I want you to bring in Jimmy Johnson.
Yeah,
and give the people what they want.
You can bet your sweet. You know what? That didn't happen.
That did not happen that way. I don't think so. All right, we're going to come back with more old school with Tony Segreto. We got opening day on tap, although very little being said about that. I had to remind myself of it.
I have to tell you this: very little of it being said here.
I don't know.
Okay?
Yeah,
being said
around
here.
the country.
But
sure.
you talk to my daughter, in New York, and you talk to, I've got friends in
Yankee
Philly,
fans, they're going
and
crazy.
they're just all over this, man. They can't wait for opening day,
See, I like cities too where their team isn't necessarily going to be very good, but they're still excited about it. Like St.
Absolutely.
Louis or
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah,
I
yeah,
don't
like-
know. They might be good this year, but
Yeah,
in Philadelphia, they certainly have to be all over the baseball team after going to the World Series.
Yeah, but I mean, like even places like Chicago and
Cubs. I mean, no matter what,
yeah,
White
Detroit.
Sox.
They love their teams, and they're that's the great thing. Everybody's anticipating.
Well, we don't love our team, do we, Tony? We don't love that much.
Do we have? Wait. Do we have a team?
Who's our team?
There you go. You, Tony Segreto, Mr. Miami Sports.
Do we have a team?
Yeah.
What is it?
All right, so we have a lot of stuff on our plate here, so to speak, and we'll be back. And I have to say, really, that leftover steak, I've taken steaks out of Gordon Ramsay Steak in Atlantic City. We go there and encompass a big meal. Otherwise, I would never pay those kind of prices. And look, it's a high quality steak. There's no question about it. And it was no second. I mean, this Texas Roadhouse steak, even as a leftover, was no second to the highest quality of beef that I've had.
Listen,
I can say that without any kind of bias.
Mike Mayo and I on Friday had a conversation about this, and I said, because he was raving about Texas Roadhouse too, and he said,
he tends to be more cynical than me, Tony.
You got to understand. You got to understand that. You got to understand that the space that Texas Roadhouse occupies. They blow Outback away, they blow Longhorn away, they blow Houston's away. That's the space they occupy. And I think in many cases, to your point, you're going to get as good a steak or better steak than you would get at a Gordon Ramsay that you're paying.
Ramsay, he's paying for a high quality beef, no question.
Yeah, but another level, but it doesn't taste like it.
We're also paying when we go to places like Ramsay's and other places like that. We're also paying for the rent. We're paying for the rent. So
3 times the price.
How many times has Ed told us when they look to a location, they try to keep the price down so they can keep the prices down for the people who go and eat their meals there?
And here's the other thing. They only speak French in these restaurants, these high-end steakhouses. Everything's a la carte. So, when you factor in there, they're throwing you a sweet potato. You want a cup of chili? No problem. You can have that too. Whatever you want. Mashed potatoes. It's great. No, I have to. I'm a huge fan after going to that Texas Roadhouse dinner with you guys. And I would imagine a great place to catch the ball games.
Listen, are you kidding me? On Saturday when I may go pick up some food
those
there
margaritas.
On Saturday. Yeah, you go there about 5:30, 6 o'clock, and watch the tip off of the FAU game. Have a cold brew, man. You're living large.
It's funny, Tony. We didn't even realize when because we were sort of hoping to get Dusty May on the show, and we figured we had a shot because we'd had him on a couple of times. Seemed to enjoy himself, and you know how that goes.
Yeah.
If a guy likes doing an interview with certain people,
Yeah.
He had a good time. It might stand out to him when he sees the request, whatever, if he sees them. So they say, well, we'll get you, Brian White. And we're like, the AD, geez, what's he going to talk about? The can drive, blood donorship, And, we didn't realize how illustrious this guy was until we started getting bombarded with texts from Leslie Visser and Sarni and you.
Oh, my God. The guy.
Saying, this guy is like AD royalty here.
He is. He is royalty. I mean, he's as good as it gets right there.
Well, his dad was supposedly at Notre Dame. And
I told you, his dad, he grew up at Notre Dame. His dad was the AD at Notre Dame, and then, the entire family grew up at Notre Dame in South Bend. And then, he bounces around, does his, learns the ropes, obviously saw his dad. I'll tell you a great story about his dad. Do we have time to do this before we get away?
Let's hold that story for a second. That's a perfect, you know how this is,
Yeah.
You keep the people hanging, a little cliffhanger there. Tony, talking about, Brian White's father, notable.
Not notorious.
Yeah. I was thinking about this mafia guy we're going to interview after the show for our Believe podcast. No, seriously.
Yeah, they are.
And we got a guy coming on named Gianni Russo. He was in the Godfather movies, and he was mob connected supposedly and all this stuff. And I thought he's going to think I'm making fun of him with this voice.
Yeah.
Okay, you don't have to do your stupid Godfather voice just because I'm on your show.
Right.
But, so I was thinking Notorious. But, all right, Tony's story coming up in a moment. Now that. It's 8:34.
Folks, Tony Segreto here. Let me ask you a question. What do you look for when you go out to eat? Good food, obviously, friendly atmosphere, not too loud, but good energy, reasonable prices, and a place where you feel comfortable. All those ingredients, no pun meant there, are hard to find unless you're talking about the Texas Roadhouse. You see, they encompass all of those attributes. Really, really good food, amazing atmosphere, good for a family, good for a date, or just a night out for yourself, and prices that will make you extremely happy. Their ribs unmatched, steaks hand cut every day. Everything, and I mean everything, is made on site, including their incredible bread. It's the one day, folks, that you can forget about low-carb diets. Trust me when I tell you, Texas Roadhouse, your restaurant, your destination when you say, where should we go and eat tonight?
From the newly renovated sports bar to the beautiful bayside views captured at the Tiki Bar, Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill has it all. Located at mile marker 104, the Big Chill also offers waterfront dining while experiencing breathtaking sunset views of the Florida Keys. It's simply the hottest spot in the Keys to cool off. That's Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill at mile marker 104 in Key Largo. For more information, call today at 305-453-9066.
Does your bookie have an app, though? Everything's on an app.
No,
but,
he only deals with me.
Well, I mean, what did you do for this man? Did you break him out of prison?
Say, what does that mean?
What did you do? Did you get him off some rap? He was with
like,
El Chapo. He was about to do life, and you called an attorney on his behalf. What happened here?
I'm like Costanza with the password for his bank account in that episode. I'm going to go to my grave with that.
Exactly.
Wow, I mean, you do get very generous odds. I would have
do.
to say. No, I mean, that would be all anybody that was a sick degenerate like we are could ever dream about is getting better prices than anybody else. Various ball games. So we'd still find a way. We'd still find a way to lose.
We are now kicking it old school with the one and only Tony Segreto. Brought to you by Catholic Health Services and Texas Roadhouse.
All right, welcome back to the show. We have Tony Segreto with us, the iconic broadcaster here, and he's witnessed a lot of stuff, as have I, over the years. All right, but you were tight with this Notre Dame program. You mentioned
our son
Brian
was
White's father and his
our son
illustrious
was
career.
our son was went to school at Notre Dame as part of the football program there. Like he was a team manager, and I had done some work at Notre Dame when I was with NBC. Obviously, it's interesting because of all things, here I go to and is there any more consternation between two universities in athletics than
they hate each
UM
other.
and Notre Dame?
For good reason too.
Yeah. So anyway, regardless, so I'm with Kevin White, Brian's father, when I was at Duke, and we're having a conversation, and a couple of us around, and he tells us a story that when he got to, I think it was at his first in Tulane, he got to Tulane, and he and his wife were looking for a house, and they couldn't find anything that they really liked, so they were at like a Ruby Tuesdays or something like that. One of those little places. And
in New Orleans?
And they're having lunch. No, they're outside of New Orleans, and they're having lunch. And he's got, they got a little cocktail napkin in front of him, and he's doodling about what he would like for a house. And he shows his wife, and he goes, "This is probably what we need." And she goes, "Yeah." He goes, "You know what? I'm going to take it to our architecture school here at Tulane and see if they can come up with something." So he brings it to the architectural school, and they draw plans for this house that he draws on a cocktail napkin, and they build this house.
Oh, wow.
Okay. Wow. So they love the house so much that every stop they made from Tulane, every single stop they made, they had the house exactly replicated.
Oh, I thought you were going to say they had it moved.
I thought you were going to say they picked it
up.
No,
No, they had the house replicated with the exception of the facade. The facade was the same, but they made the facade so that it would fit into the neighborhood. So that if you walked in the house and you were the oldest child and your room was to the left, your room is still to the left.
That's funny.
It's the same house he had built. And he goes, it made life easier. We knew where to put things as soon as we got in. and that's how we've lived. And it was just funny because
who says you can't take your racetrack with you? You were talking about
that. And he threw this Kevin threw this party at his house in North Carolina, and a bunch of us go to this party, and we're thinking, it's like a little get together. He had an Irish band there. He had an open bar. he had the best of everything, and I mean the best of everything, and just fantastic host. Just knew how to do things. What an amazing family. Just a great group of people.
It's funny because we were considering him not quite the marquee guest we were looking for.
Yeah,
and
so much for that.
You've probably encountered some of this. I don't know, but you're thinking, geez, do we really want to talk to some schmenk AD? Not even realizing how illustrious this guy was or how great he was going to be when he came on.
Yeah.
And to the moment when we did that interview, we were still thinking, it's not quite the coach, But
Well, I'm
no,
telling
it turned
you,
out great. Turned out really well.
I think the FAU's got a bigger issue with keeping him because I think
That's
that
interesting. That was.
I think he's going to go on to bigger and better things. I mean, I see him going, to a big university. I really
He's been there
do.
like 6 years or 5 or 6 years.
Listen, I know he loves Boca,
2018.
but you know what? Listen, you worry about you concern yourself with your family and how you going to set them up. So
It's not a bad spot though, Tone.
No,
Boca
it's not a
Raton.
bad spot. It really isn't. But again, I think you want to be something. Listen, I think you're right. I think if FAU can keep this juggernaut going through the next couple of years, they could be the Gonzaga of the Southeast. I think they'll be known for that.
And it won't be easy though.
No, it's not going to be easy.
Yeah.
It's not going to be.
Well,
easy.
I'll tell you why. Here's what I saw in the tournament. Everybody complains, that this name, image, and likeness was going to ruin the game and the transfer portal. And what's happened is it became far more fascinating because now everybody's in the mix. Whereas
Agreed.
before you had the Blue
Agreed.
Bloods or whatever, and naturally you would expect Kansas to be there, UCLA. I mean, and any of these power schools, Kentucky. But now it could be anybody, literally at any time, that pops up there. And look at this tournament. It was like the most amazing action. If you were gambling on the games, it was even more insane. But even just as a pure fan of sport, you couldn't ask for much. Every game is like some ridiculous nail biter that comes down to the wire.
It's the best reality show on TV. The heck with everything else.
And the impossible happens too.
Yeah, and I want to bring something else up. I don't know if you saw this or not, but ESPN recorded the highest rating ever for the women's semifinals.
Really well.
You're talking to Sonny. There you go.
They beat the NBA. They beat the NBA in ratings, huh?
Caitlin Clark's a big deal, and then you have South Carolina, which is a team you can either love or hate.
I mean, who would have ever thought? I mean, 5 years ago that wouldn't have happened. That's wonderful. I think that's fantastic.
No, the ladies are playing a better brand of basketball. No question. They have more stars than they used to.
And Katie Meyer did. I thought we are so fortunate and so blessed to have a Katie Meyer and a Jim Larinaga, people that. And Mario and Gino DeMari, when you think about just the University of Miami and their major head coaches, and forgive me for not mentioning tennis and everything else, but you have those visible coaches and the way Katie handled everything and how emotional she was with the wins that they had and the love that each school, the athletes had for each other, watching each other. I just thought it was wonderful moments and just great for the families watching, that you have your son or daughter at either of any of these schools or in any of these institutions. Just fabulous. It's just been a great run this last month.
Yeah, and I think, by next year, the entire landscape could change dramatically, which is funny in basketball, the way it's working now. Because, if you think about it, it's a fairly simple deduction. You get one great guy out of the transfer portal.
That's all you need. Yep.
Yeah.
And maybe one recruit.
You're right.
You're
absolutely right. You're
you don't see a lot of depth, necessarily, being exhibited by any of these teams. From what I could make of it, it seems like doesn't play that many guys.
No,
I don't know how deep they go, but I'm looking at the same 5 guys on the court for like.
And they'll give them a 2-minute blow, and then they'll bring them back in. But I think you're right, and I think that we're going to see that too. The same thing, the same tipping point happens in football. Maybe not to the extent that we've seen it in this tournament, but I think it's look at they're talking. The first 2 weeks of spring ball, they're like all over how great the Sam Hartman is at Notre Dame. They're finally got themselves a quarterback.
Name, image, and likeness.
The NIL and the University of Miami. They're getting guys that Mario isn't, loves these guys that he's getting, and it could flip a lot. It could flip in a heartbeat. So I'm looking forward to to see what happens. But you're right. It's absolutely correct that the portal and NIL has changed the landscape of these teams, and it's made this Final
and of
Four.
college basketball.
Yeah,
we talked about this with Brian White. And you could see this happening. FAU players that are still in season are still being recruited by other schools at this stage. Yeah. Because, some big program, Calipari looks and goes, man, if I had that point guard from FAU, I'd win the championship every year. Let's go get him, right? And the next thing you know, like Colonel Sanders himself is coming back from the grave to offer the guy 2 Kentucky Fried Chicken franchises.
Right. Now, the only place the portal probably will not work or won't work is baseball. And that's because a lot of these guys will just say, screw it, I'll just go pro. I'll just sign. So, but listen, hey, Mayo, just the best watch party Saturday.
He's got it nailed, Mike Mayo.
That's the place. Gulfstream Carousel Club, Derby time for the Florida Derby, 644, 2 Final Four games. What more could you want? That's
Can you
like
imagine?
heaven.
You're already drinking your brains out there. Make sure you Uber home. Leave your car in the parking lot.
And just be safe.
Yeah.
Well, Uber
I don't know that
I
I would do that. I mean, all day at the track. Think about that. See, now I would be distracted, though, during the Final Four because I'd be able to bet the races that are going on the West Coast. And then later on from various points in South America.
Hey, it's so funny on Friday, right? So Mike brings me the racing form. He's got Saturday.
I heard you were doing some handicapping.
Yeah, so he's got the Saturday racing form. I've got the Friday racing form.
That's the way we work it because I'm all in that day.
Yeah, and then but we're eating and we're talking and we're having this conversation. And poor Lubie, God bless him, man. He's fighting Wi-Fi and everything else to make sure we're on the air.
He has to kind of beat off the guys with a stick that want the chairs.
Yeah,
because they're unmerciful. They don't care that you have a television set up.
on
the table. They say that's my table.
Yeah, exactly. But I never had a chance to bet during my time there.
That's good.
So I take the racing form home with me. And I stop at Grandpa's and I get my bagels.
Oh, we heard about that.
Yeah, the bagels are like it's a tire. The bagels aren't pure. It's a tire. It's a damn tire. I froze 5 of them, and it takes up half the space in my freezer for goodness' sake. But anyway,
I mean, they're really well
they're
made.
fantastic. So I get home. I get home, and I'm making myself something to eat or something to snack, and I go, you know what? I get on my computer. I go on to Inspires. I get my racing form. I was able to bet the last 4 races at Gulfstream, and now I'm getting ready to look at the Florida Derby, which I'm excited about. It's going to be a great prelude.
Oh, always great. Yeah, I mean, I always loved the whole, picture, the 3-year-old scene. It was more fun when they had Gulfstream and Hialeah going.
Yeah.
And then you would see certain horses, in the different locations through the 4 months of the so-called winter season.
Yeah.
And, you had 2 different venues to go to or huge crowds on hand even during the week. It was fantastic. I mean, that was back in the heyday. But this, these big events that they know how to play them up at Gulfstream Park. They do a good job there.
They do. They do a really nice job. And it was a nice group of listen. What
racing fans always complain, though. You know that, Tony.
Oh yeah,
like what is this bullshit? I got to pay to park.
Yeah, exactly. They want everything. If it's free, it's for me. But it's funny. I got to tell you real quick. I was talking to Joey, and I said, "Hey, have you ever had the bagels from Grandpa's?" He goes, "Are you kidding? Grandpa's is an institution." I go, "You know Grandpa's?" He goes,
"He's down the block."
When I was at Dania, I'd go and have my pregame meal there. For goodness' sake. So
different ownership now, but they do a great job.
Yeah.
Dania Highlight. Joey Catrona is from one of those bagels in there on one of those Tejadas. And I just would have died right on the wall.
Who you liking in the Florida Derby?
I don't know that you can go against this chalk. I mean, I hate to be the bearer of bad news.
Can't we do a transfer portal in horse racing? Can't we do an NIL in horse racing, something like that?
Well, you got Bob Bamford. I mean, he basically is a human NIL, right? He's got all those high-priced ponies that he had to disperse for the Kentucky Derby to other trainers. I mean, there's always a chance that somebody comes in there and pulls off an upset. I mean, look, it's horse racing. You have 3-year-olds rounding into form. Some take a little longer than others. This horse just looked great, though, in a fountain of youth. Now it'd be common to say, okay, whoever won that race is going to win this race. But
we'll see.
I don't know. I mean, this horse was relatively unchallenged in that race. And
That's the
this was
thing,
his,
man.
that was his first race of the year. That was like a tune-up.
Yeah, but in
And
the
he looked very
Derby, you know,
sharp.
you may have a cavalry charge, and a couple of horses get bumped here and there, and next thing you know, there's a whole different look. But
Anything can happen. I mean,
yeah.
that's the beauty of it. you
I
know?
have a request though, if it's
Yeah.
okay. So we have another 4 weeks, right? Something like that for 4.5, 5 weeks. Lubie, I would love the week I'm on before the Derby, okay, that we do a little opening with the Secretariat call. 50 years ago,
With that, yeah,
50 years ago, that Secretariat did the unthinkable. I mean, still to this day.
Yeah, very dominant horse. Can you believe I bet against him in the Belmont that day?
No way.
I was out there, and
no way.
Well, I mean, you know, he was like 1 to 20. So I backwheeled him with the other horses that were in the race in exactas.
Wow.
Yeah. I don't even know if they had exactas.
I mean,
then, but that's what would've done.
I remember the call, and again, I'm paraphrasing. You know, he's like a machine. I mean, it was.
Yeah, he was. I mean, he was out there. I remember my friend Cliff Keller was standing next to me.
It
We
wasn't
were down
even
by the rail.
close.
And my buddy, you know, you couldn't really see that well because, you know, you're at the rail there. And
Yeah.
there was like 80,000 people there. And so you're really crunched in. And, you know, the horses are on a backstretch. Belmont's massive. So the backstretch is like miles away.
It is. It's it seems like it's like in another time zone.
Yeah, and my friend's jumping up so we can see the race, you know, trying to jump over the fence there. And he says, something's out there by like a mile. And it was Secretariat, and you know, just jogged on home there, and not even trying. It broke the track record, and I think that's a record that still stands, isn't
Yeah, I
it?
think so too.
Jogging, no, Tony. So that was great,
Yeah,
and that was a good story. And then made the cover of Time magazine. Everybody's like, "What, a horse? What are you kidding me?"
Yeah, it captivated. You know, it was like this Final Four. It captivated the country. It just everybody was just like, wow.
Yeah, you think it did, or I mean, do you think it? I mean, or is the country going to be just tuned out because there's no real marquee team in the Final
I don't
Four?
know. I think the way the ratings have been. I mean, just look at let's go reflect back to a second to the women's and how they did. I think there's going to be. I think there's going to be interest. I really, really do. I think you've got the Cinderella story. You know, you got one blue blood in there in UConn. You've got 3 teams that haven't been there before, and I think that when you have 3 teams like that, okay, it's not just one team. When you have 3 teams like that, and specifically when you have a Miami who's the older of the 3 teams. I mean, we're going to be 100 years old in 2025, and I don't know the age of San Diego State, so forgive me for that. They may be older. But you have the alumni all over the country and all over the world. I think it's going to bring in a much better rating and interest than people believe.
All right, I you know, got to put you on the hook here, Tony. What do you see now? Lubie and I, we've been thinking that Miami was going down
every game
since
I thought
the
you were
Indiana game.
I did too. I did too. I'll be honest. I did too.
Houston and Texas, I did not see them do.
I was surprised the way they.
I thought
Houston
was.
Yeah.
I thought Houston was their Waterloo.
I wasn't sure that they would lose to Houston. I would have taken the points there, but I don't know that I felt confident that they were going to win. And against Texas, it looked like they were getting hammered. You know, that game could have broken just as easily into like a 20-point game at one point with about 10 minutes to go in the second half. Texas came down, missed a couple of shots and big opportunities, wide open. And Miami eventually chipped their way back into the thing and then, you know, ended up winning by 7. But UConn's been a juggernaut. Lubie had an explanation for Gonzaga's poor performance where they blasted Gonzaga. UConn did by like 30 points. A real eye-opener. But do you see UM getting by the University of Connecticut, number 1?
I think they can get by. Will they get by is another thing. Again, I believe that Larinaga has had the ability to keep these kids level, to keep these kids in the moment. Okay, the Segretoism, as you guys like to call it. I think he's been able to infuse them with the confidence that they can handle the stage. Okay. I think Wong has got to wake up. I think he
did in the second half. He was great.
He did in the second half, and
Yeah.
I think he's got to play, 2 halves. I really do.
Well,
And
yeah,
I
and he
think
had
that's
27 a game before, so
yeah. So I think
been all right.
his play is critical. I think they can. I think it's going to be a tough mountain to climb, but I think they can. And I believe FAU will win. I just think that they're a better team than San Diego State. I think that they drew the good straw.
They've had the softer road by
Their
far.
route's
Yeah,
freaking
no
amazing.
doubt.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear either of you. What
Well,
was
the
that?
route's been amazing. They literally haven't had to face a 1 or a 2.
Right. And they've been blessed with that. So I think we all in South Florida all want to see a Miami FAU final. I think everybody would love that.
Be beyond
Does it happen?
comprehension.
I don't know. I hope it does. I think Miami has the ability to pull it off. It's. I think things have to be perfect for Miami to do this. I think UConn's got to have a little bit of an off night and get in foul trouble, and Miami's got to take advantage of it. But I listen. Stranger things have happened. I'm going with Miami. My heart is with my university, and my soul is with them. And trust me, I'll be dressed in full regalia as we get ready for Saturday night. I mean, it's going to be great. I got to pace my drinking out though.
Yeah, we were surprised a little bit by your ability to consume alcohol, Tony, because we considered you more of a teetotaler.
I'm a true Italian, man.
He likes his
Yeah. I mean, and you can combine like red wine with bourbon and whiskey and all of that stuff. It's great. Veritable smorgasbord of alcohol.
But how do you guys tell me what you think?
Yeah, I'm going to continue to predict that Miami goes down because every time I do, they win. So
I can see both teams losing. To be honest, and I'm sort of sad by it, and I'm hoping I'm wrong. I've been wrong this whole time. I'm going to keep riding that wave of hopefully being wrong.
I'm with you and the odds makers that FAU has an easier task.
Yeah.
Whatever doubts you had about them, we came up with our own Jay Billis term, late game resilience. This team, and Miami has it too, obviously, since they made that comeback. And where Miami coming into the tournament, though, had a tendency to fade in games where they had big leads. That was a little disturbing to me. And then everybody thought Duke was like UConn, sort of a juggernaut coming into the tournament.
They
if you're
really
going to take
did.
like a second-tier team beyond the 1 and the 2 seeds, that Duke and UConn were the two teams you could look at as Final Four possibilities without it being a big surprise. Then everybody jumped on the Gonzaga bandwagon. They don't have the pressure this year. And they folded just like they do when they do have the pressure.
Yes.
So that's just the fate of Gonzaga teams, that they're just not good enough to win the championship, no matter what you think about them. But I've been doubting UM all along, because the late, the end of the season didn't overwhelm me. When they lost to FSU in that game, I was like, whoa, what happened here?
Yeah, that was like, whoa.
But I'll give you this. I think that they play as if they literally were Larinaga as a collective on the floor, because he doesn't call any timeouts. The only timeouts are the other teams or the media timeouts, and his message is, "Let's do it, guys."
Yeah.
and then they do it. I mean, they had
that was Katie did the same thing. Katie Meyer basically did the same thing. I mean, she drew up a couple plays, but I'm sure they did more than that. But I agree with you. I agree with you. He lets them play.
They play very cerebrally together. Much like any good team that you would want to watch, which, that's part of the fun of watching that team play. Do they have the best players on the floor at all times? No. But collectively, they're just, pretty incredibly in sync. And to abandon the 3-point shot when it was being taken away in that game against Texas and do exactly what Larinaga thought that they needed to do, which is take the ball inside. When Juan got going, Lubie and I were saying he looked like Kawhi Leonard with those raise up
jumper.
Yeah, once he started.
That was a young Segreto hoisting.
Yeah. I agree with you. I think there's got to be a little serendipity here. But it's almost as if you hate to say it like this, but it's the truth. Can they will themselves to win? And
I think they can. It's possible.
I do too. I do too. And you got to hope that part of you is saying we hope UConn takes them lightly. You hope San Diego State takes FAU lightly. And
I doubt that'll happen though. I can't see that.
I don't. You know what? I don't know. But you know what? You're 18, 19, 20-year-old kids. You're looking at the team and you see they're good, but you're really good. And
But it's not like San Diego State. I mean, got in there
Yeah,
on
listen,
what people thought was a very questionable
that was
call.
Vegas.
Yeah, that was tough.
Otherwise, who knows? What,
Ratings
they
did
might have
really
been done. I mean, they've done great in the tournament, but nobody could be overwhelmingly confident. And you see what Miami can do. They put up points. I mean, that game. They're getting 79, 80 points a ball game, 92 in that one game, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so they can score. So they're always going to be a threat, even to a team like UConn.
It's going to be fun. It's just it's
Yeah,
going to be, regardless of the outcome. It's going to be fun. I hope and I pray that no matter who wins, that none of these are blowouts.
Yeah, I hope they're
that they're tight.
Unless we win by blowout. Yeah.
Unless we win by blowout. Yeah.
That I'll take.
Exactly.
All right. Notice it's we now. All right, Tony, great stuff.
We love you, Segreto, man.
Always a pleasure.
Hey, man, what a great day. And again, Lubie, I got to tell you, thank you for Friday. You were fantastic. And Mike Mayo.
Thanks for coming out. We had a blast.
Great seeing Mike. Great seeing Mike and kind of rekindling some old stories that we both had, the guys we used to hang with and run with on the trips that we would make together. So it was great to be with everybody. And I felt bad that you weren't there, Defo, but
I wish I'd been. Imagine.
Yeah,
for me to be a scratch.
And the food was great. And God bless. I don't know the chef's name, the guy, but his father passed away. And he still
Joe Beja. Yeah,
yeah. That was
manager.
What a nice man to be able to do that. And still,
he's been great. It's been a great run there at Gulfstream.
Yeah,
Looking
it's
forward
fantastic.
to being out there Friday. Yeah,
and bagels on the way home. What more could you want?
Nice job, Tony Segreto. You had the full spectrum of the lunchbox there. That's great. All right, Tony Segreto, ladies and gentlemen, old school, brought to you by Texas Roadhouse. I got just enough juice left in the tank to say goodbye, I think. Yeah.
It just got through.
All right, very good. We did it. That was great. Brian White, fantastic. I thought he was a very interesting conversationalist, especially and very forthright about the AD job there at FAU and what's going on there. And we wish all of you guys the best of luck and all your wagers. We'll see you tomorrow and on Mike Mayo's Lunchbox.
They will be at Even Keel.
Even Keel, yeah. That's 12 o'clock today. That's commercial and A1A.
Yes.
A great place. I love Brad because when he starts describing the stuff there, and you see how into it he is, and even the mustard has several different ingredients that you never would have thought of. You're like, wow. I mean, and you took the time to do that? That's fantastic. No wonder it tastes so great. So I'll be there later on. That's going to be a lot of fun. Man, maybe the tail end of spring break, so we might see some babes.
It'll be buzzing. Yeah.
All right, see you at 12 on Mike Mayo's Lunchbox as we leave it on that.
The time.
9:02.
Let's go to eat a damn snack.
Look what they done to my show.